Welcome to the Whiteburg City update. Please stand by for the top stories. Your top stories this week. Work starts on the embankment and St. Stephen's Station is finally open for business. Those were your top stories. Please stand by.
Right then guys, so we're back here again in Whiteburg City, and what you're currently seeing me doing here is planning out some of the roads I want to build around the embankment area of the river. So I kind of went off on a tangent last time talking about how we're going to fix up the park, sort out the area north of Greenwich House, but currently I don't think that's possible without doing some work down here on the riverfront first to kind of formalise where we need to have levels of the ground, roads and also some other buildings and just ideas about what's generally going to happen down here. And so this road here is going to be the embankment, and you can see that it's going to have a large wall alongside, denoted by this grey wool here. Wool? Do you know what, it's really hard to say both of them. I know you guys have picked up on it before. It's just like it's a tongue twister almost for me. So this grey wool, the stuff you get from the sheep, is going to be changed up into some sort of stone makeup soon to carry on all the way along there. So instead of having this as a straight line, it does kink a little bit. If we fly on down here, ignore the building on my right for a second, we'll get to that in a moment. This is going to carry on down all the way up towards, I think, where does this go? I think this goes towards Linford. I don't actually know, and I'm scared to fly too far into the abyss. Anyway, if we come on back over here, we're sort of getting into the wider scenes of Whiteburg City now. So this section here you're seeing is a kind of layout of where the Royal Palace is going to go. So this red line denotes the rest of the Mall, and what you're seeing there is the old War Office, and it's going to be sitting within St. Christopher's Park, which is going to have the other boundary up against the Embankment Road and also around the back of the Royal Palace and back down along that side of the road there, and that will come back in to where we have the park over here. So I think it's all making sense now. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my thoughts and ideas into a video like this. So what I have done in the meantime is I've gone across and I've copied over and I've pasted in the original park we had laid out. As you can see, the situation is dire. There is about a 9-meter gap between the ground level currently there, which is fairly flat, and I don't really want to take it down to here, and where the park needs to be. So my thinking here, as we discussed last time, was to raise all of this up rather than having it go down. It will go up, and that needs to interface nicely with the sections over here, which has also been pasted in. So the reason I then stopped working on this is because I suddenly went, right, well, we need this to carry on across over to here, but the river does, I don't want the land rolling off into the river. I want the land being held up by an embankment, so I needed to pick a height for that, and I picked about 5 meters above the water level. So you can see over here, we went to this pub during the pub crawl. This is the Whitebeard built by Krista. Now, what I liked most about this is there was a retaining wall here and a room a bit lower down, and I think this, from the actual level of the ground, which was here up to here, was around about 5-6 blocks. Yes, that's five blocks proud of that, but also off the water level itself is about 7. So I kind of wanted to go with that all the way along here. So each of the buildings that are going to be sitting along here are going to have a nice retaining wall feature along there, and that will tie back in somehow to the embankment. It really is all up in the air still. Let me show you a bit of planning I've got drawn out. Okay, so what we're looking at here on screen is about a 12 AM sketch I did last night of the area that I've just shown you in game. So over here on the left we have the old War Office, which we'll get to in a bit, and then we have the Embankment Road swings all around there. You saw that in game with the cyan wool mixed with the pink wool. Yes, a great colour. I've tried to denote that in here in this sketch. Now what happens with the orange wool that you saw as well is it forms a triangle with one-way roads. So we've got one lane going off here down on that traffic, and then roads can carry off around here. So this is only a small little track, and that pops out over there at the train station. Speaking of the train station, in this plan I kind of went, okay, we got a big open trench here. It's using up a lot of space, usable space along a really nice embankment area. So my next thinking here is to move what is the tunnel entrance, the portal here, all the way down to near the ends of the platforms, just so we have this open trench section here over the platforms where the steam engines would be. Allows for a bit of ventilation, allows for that steam to leave, but also does give a nice industrial feel to the area still, but you're not looking at the rest of the tracks moving down here. As I mentioned, this is prime real estate, shape. So the idea is all of these brown squares are going to be townhouses. So Aussie has already started building a few up here by the arch. They may need to get moved just due to now the new line around here. There's going to be more houses coming around here, some on the corner, some more in here. So the thinking is, originally this train station wasn't here, and this was like a square. So in the middle here you had a nice square of grass, you had townhouses either side. They got demolished, the train station got built through here. So these large buildings with river access, as I've written there on that sketch, not entirely sure what I want to do, but I have an idea. Let me bring up a picture of a building I think might fit here. So this is Burlington House in Piccadilly, London. I'm thinking it still exists because, so I've just found another image on Google that I think is actually the same house, this one here. So I was thinking this would look quite nice along this side of the river, as it's got a good frontage to it. You got some alcoves with some people, some statues, and it looks like you could probably have a loggia along what will be the front of the river. So my other thinking is to have a set of steps that come down here, like the steps outside Parliament. Again, let me show you those. So in real life, or along Victoria Embankment, which is kind of what I'm basing this on. So yeah, our road will have a nice tree lined section to it. We'll get onto that later. But what I was thinking is having a large set of steps down from this area here, probably in front of the old War Office, that will come on down to a lower section, which will then link back in to probably the lower areas of these buildings around here. You can see that my mind is not 100% made up on what I want to do yet with this. I think it's going to be a case of we're going to have to try and fly through some ideas and get thinking on what exactly might work. So the old War Office wasn't originally meant to go here. It was actually planned to go over the other side of the complex. I made a decision last night that I thought, hey, do you know what would look really cool if we put the old War Office here, have a nice park in front of it, lets it breathe a little bit more. I'll show you the original location for it in a second, but here makes more sense because this building was built probably about 1906, which means it's modern in our terms, and it's a nice neo-Baroque building. So what's going to happen is this area of the park, let's get back into game. So what that means is this area of the park has been sold off and is now being used for government buildings. So all of the government is mainly on that side of the archway, as we've discussed previously, but now I'm thinking, because it's 1912, we've got more buildings needed. This is the Border Trade Office, by the way. We're going to need more space taken up from the original Royal Park to be able to deliver some grand buildings. And now I think these buildings are worthwhile putting here along the Mall. So what's going to happen now is you're going to have this building here on the left, and on the right we're going to have the Great George Street offices. I think that's what they're called. Let's go back to Google Maps. So these are the ones I'm talking about here. And as you can see, they kind of exist in a similar frame of park. Is that St. James's Park? That is St. James's Park. So this is my thinking for the Mall. So the Mall is not going to be obviously as long as this in real life, but the idea is at one end is all the government buildings. You've got the archway, which is actually here, Admiralty's Arch, and there are some buildings behind that. Now, this would make sense if we do this similar thing in our world as well, before you get into the park proper. So the idea is then opposite what we've got with the old War Office is going to be this building sitting there as well. With these towers, yeah, I think this would be what we're going to have as the Mall. So imagine the old War Office here. Where is it in real life? Oh, it's just over here. Now this brings me on to another point as well. This is very frantic, I know, but I've just got some ideas popping in my head. So where we've got this Whitehall garden green in front of the Farmers Club, I can't remember what that building's called, Whitehall Court, I think. This is kind of the thinking back to this little garden here. So you can see I've taken the old War Office, flipped it around 90 degrees, and we're going to put a nice little garden in the front there. Okay, let's jump back into the game. Right, are you all still following? Good. So that is a good old planning session there. Now in this rest of this video, I think I can possibly get the road done, get the old War Office in location, and maybe even get Burlington House on the go. Yeah, I think that would look cool there. I think a nice big house, maybe that's not so far out actually, I might have to bring it back a bit. And you can have these steps coming down to a lower section, which can then even be walked around the front, maybe just one block above the river. Have a nice little promenade around the front here. You have a loggia in there. You can go underneath it. I'm thinking even to make it like a gallery or something. We will see. So in terms of where this new portal is going to go, you see this little alleyway here. This is going to be a road, but not really a road. It's going to be, you kind of walk around here and you come onto a cobbled street, and that cobbled street is then going to possibly extend straight down this way. Yeah, so that would cut it off there. So we gain that section, which won't look too bad, and that'll probably be the edge of that road. We could then put some houses in here again. Actually, that does look pretty good. I might even keep that die straight as well. So that'll connect it into that road there. I didn't really mention much about this area up around the back here because there's a building I'm going to be building that I said I wouldn't, but now I am. Yeah, 10 Downing Street is going to go in here next to, well, what is actually the mansion at the back. So in real life, back to here again, let's have a look for 10 Downing Street, which I always lose it for somehow. I never know where it is. Right, here it is. So 10 Downing Street is just, for all intents and purposes, just a set of townhouses. It's nothing special, but they look nice. And they're these nice black painted ones. And you can see this building here. That is the mansion at the back, or what I've built is the CDP HQ. Now there is no cupola on this real one. I did do it quite well, I think. I went for a massive use of diorite rather than any debugged walls, but hey, it looks good. So that's kind of then sitting in front of what is Greenwich. So it all does get mixed about a bit. Anyway, so what I was thinking was having gardens for that, the CDP gardens, and then we're going to have 10 Downing Street off to the side, just sort of nestled behind some buildings. So that would be nestled in here with the gardens through there, and this tiny little road will be the entrance to it. And I think that's quite good because then you can just put a gate across here, and this can be a really nice little secluded area. And there's definitely enough space here, I think, to put possibly 10, 11, and the entirety of the run of Downing Street. Plus, build them to maybe what they were originally, rather than a big extended 1930s block that they are now. So that will go in there. That road will then connect into this little road, which again is like a little gated road that goes alongside of the CDP, and that might run off down here as well, possibly being picked up by this one, and then there'll be a row of townhouses there and a row of townhouses there. You know what? This is great. We've now got some planning properly on the ground as opposed to up in the air. And with this section done, once we do get round to finishing it, that will give me a clear picture in my head of exactly how this mall was going to work, and that will then follow on to how this park's going to work, and then I can raise this park up to the right level. Yeah, you can see why I suddenly went, oh no, I've got so much more to do, rather than just raising this up. Yeah, so that's the plan. That is the plan, and I think it's going to be a worthwhile plan. This is all broken. So let me show you where this originally was going to sit. So we're over the other side of the complex. You can just about see a dome there, and what was going to be the location of the old War Office was right here in this area. It's a bit cramped, I would say. Let me show you how it looked. Right, so this is how it was going to look. I mean, not terrible. It would have carried on this whole sort of facade here of this river. But there was going to be a dock that went off down that way. It kind of went... I didn't originally like it here either. And then it left this big empty space here. I'm not really sure how it's going to interface with the road behind it, because the road was several levels too high. Not entirely sure what this is. I think we'll just ignore it. And you can see that I never really put it in place because I went, not 100% happy with it there. But over there, oh, yes. Majorly happy with it over there. So I think that is definitely a good thing to do. This will stay like it is, and I think what's going to happen now is either we bring that forward and we give this place a bit more space at the back, we have a bigger block. I think that might be doable, actually. Bring that up to there, a few more buildings along here, perhaps have a whole street along there for the quayside, have some townhouses along the back, maybe some little alleyways. Yes, now that's really hitting true now with that one. Cool, I think that's how that's going to go ahead. I might open that up to the other builders to do, mainly just because Chris has done most of the area around here, as is Aussie, and I know they're itching to get some more townhouses done. Well then guys, I think what's going to happen now is I'm going to jump back over there, possibly go into a time lapse, get that road sorted. We'll come back into game once I have possibly the park in. Yeah, I'm not too sure how far we're going to get today, but we'll go back and start some work over there. Hold on. We have one more task that I neglected to tell you about, and that was the train station. St. Stephen's Station, formerly St. Christopher's Park Station. Now, we spoke about it briefly in the last clip, but I didn't actually go through and mention that, one, we need to finish it before we even move any further on with this project, because two, the railway line here is actually going to go under the embankment and make a good use of that new bit of infrastructure there. So originally I had designed the tracks to bend off up towards the north to go underneath the parkland, but now what I've decided decided to do is take it all the way back down and have it sort of bend out towards the south along the riverbank. Now we're going to get into more of that in the next episode, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood that we had to come here and build this bit so we can then go through and build the embankment and also the townhouses behind there, and then go through and build the park. So it is an entire sort of, I don't even know how this works now, it's like a flow chart now. So anyway, what we're going to do here is go through, add the tracks back in on the ground that I've lost at some point while copying this back over, I don't know where they went, and also add in some details and textures on the walls. The thinking behind what I'm doing with the walls here is archways. Now arches are great for carrying load, they're also great for not using too many bricks. So what I'm going to go through here and do is add archways, small little archways to each side of the walls, and there is a slight gradient on the walls, and I've done that by setting the walls off back a little bit. Sort of inspiration for this was West London District Line around Kensington, and they have these open trenches that have these brick walls going up on the side, and I looked at that and went, that's perfect, I'm going to go through and actually use that. I think it turned out okay. The arches are a little bit small. I did do some future arches later on which were 3 blocks wide rather than the 2 blocks wide, which I think looked a lot better, but hey, we live and learn. So not only that, I did go through and add a bit of ruination to the ground, a little bit of mossy cobblestone, moss, and a bit of grass through there, just to make it feel like it's underwater. Gets a bit wet in here because hey, at this point in time we're actually under the river, so the water tables here really do start to fill up, plus all of that runoff from the roads fall down into here. Now the iron girders here act great for this. Now, I was going to do a brick arch, but there just wasn't enough space for it. I couldn't fit 2 pillars in there, if that makes any sense, so I had to go for a nice big flat bridge, iron girders through there. I really love that lovely bit of infrastructure, and that goes and leads on into a brick tunnel, which will then lead back on into more box tunnels later on in the series. So guys, I think it's time to jump back into game now. Let me show you around what I've just built. Right then, station is a tick. Now, as I explained earlier on, you always end up doing fixing some issues that you kind of didn't really know were issues until you sat down and went, oh yeah, hang on, we got to do this part first. So I'm really happy of how this place has turned out. The ruination around here at the bottom of this wall at least is definitely up there with some of my best sort of texturing, if I do say so myself. Now, I like the arches in the walls, and I don't know if you saw in the time lapse, I did attempt to make some bigger ones. I've kind of went, that could have been better, but I think the small ones work, and they definitely work over this side, holding up that really tall wall, embanking all of that land behind there. Now, I only did a small little bit of ruination down this side, mainly due to the fact that this bit isn't as damp as that side. That side gets all of the water from the river as well. And yeah, that moves us on swiftly then to the next sort of issue, problem, task. Task is the better word. So as you know, we're already 3 tasks deep. The park, then the mall, now the war office and the embankment, and also the railway line. Okay, 5 tasks deep. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to carry on building this railway line into the embankment. So I think I'm not 100% happy of how this is looking right now, mainly due to the fact that I want it to be wider. So I've been doing a bit of research on the Victoria embankment. Let me show you some pictures. Right, so I've been looking around on the interwebs and I found myself some good inspiration from the correct time period. So what you're looking at here is the Victoria embankment in London, tree-lined, beautiful walls, lots of lampposts along it, and some sort of archway to let you down, a water gate as it's known, down onto the Thames ferries. So this is the scene I want to go for. Now let me scroll across a few. You can see here, even in this older image, you've got the Cleopatra's Needle, which I think we should definitely build. Some steam passenger ships, little ferries to take you across the Thames. And this one I found as well was an interesting image. So that is Somerset House there on the left, and originally it sat on the banks of the Thames, which is what this is, and it had a water gate into it so you could actually sail ships inside and park up that way. Amazing structure. We are definitely building that in the city. But what's happening over on the right hand side here is they're digging out the land to be able to build in the district line, the railway line, and that's key to what I want to do here next, because once you build the railway line under the road, it means you can build the road over the top of it. So this is the completed Victoria embankment. Really old image this is. I think this is from the 1870s, just after it was opened. It might even have construction work still going on down there. I loved this image, and you can see see what the road structure was made out of, but also the smaller trees along here where they're still growing. Now, we are building it probably about 30 years on, 40 years on from when it was built, so I think we're going to have a bit of a bigger tree along the front there. But you can see the pristine colour of the embankment itself, and this area here for the ferries, and obviously the same place there. You got Somerset House overlooking it all. Now, we are definitely adding that somewhere. I'm just not sure where yet. So anyway, that is kind of the scene, as you can see here as well in this painting. So let's get back into game and see what we can kind of do with that. Right, understand that? Good, because I don't. So what is going to happen then is I'm going to extend this out to a bit further, and it's going to connect in better there. I am still going to build that Burlington house there. I'm just going to see how it interacts with the rest of the landscape. I'm questioning what to do with this bit. Now, I've looked up a few townhouses of the period. Just ignore the floating trains. They're here for me to pick one to put inside here. Thank you, Goblin, for placing these here. Lovely stuff. I can't wait to use one of them. So this is going to be a row of townhouses. Now, I think I have an idea in my head on how I want this to go. They will have a walkway out the front, I believe, that will connect round there, and there'll be some arches similar to what we saw on Somerset House in those pictures just then. Burlington House, and then a nice promenade. I will straighten this up. Now, I want this entire structure to be... So that's 25. It's going to have to be 35 to 40 metres wide, I reckon. Because if we got to contain this railway line underneath it, which is 19 blocks by itself, and I want that under the road, I think I may have to widen the road as well. That road's only 11 blocks wide. I reckon make the road 15 blocks wide. This is the main through thoroughfare as well. So 15, make that 15. So that's 2 more either side. And then I reckon make this, that's 14 there. Make that... 17, no, 20. Let's go 20. Nice promenade, 20 blocks wide, get some trees along there. 20 and 15, that equals 35. That should be a good length. Now, I may even do a bit of role-playing, not really role-playing, and put in put in sewers and maybe pipe work as well, just to add to that nice industrial Victorian architecture style stuff. Infrastructure is the word I'm looking for. And as you can see over here, I've done that in bucket loads. I love this bridge. So what's happening here is this section of the tunnel is going to be bridged over like this. We're going to have a few more girders going across laterally as well. Then I was thinking it goes into a brick tunnel. Now, I have been looking at a few images, we're not going to go over again, of the district line when it was built, and it was cut and cover, and they cut it down, built box trenches, and then covered it across with steel beams, or wrought iron beams. I might do that for this as well. We will see. So I'm going to carry on building a bit more of the embankment planning and trying to get this railway line under there. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to get on to building those townhouses in this episode, but I thought it's at least a good spot to actually get some planning down on the ground, give you guys a look at how this place is forming already, because behind me, once this is all ready, Old War Office will go in, and we'll have more domes around here. More domes indeed. Right then, I think a little time lapse, maybe a little quick jump. I'll see you afterwards with a bit more of this railway line built. Well, with my trusty bit of purple wool in hand, you've been seeing a lot of planning going on up there on top. I'm back down here on the railway. So I know I promised you at the end of the last clip that we would carry on the railway line through here. And as you can see, there is a path going through here now. I have a clear route. Ignore that for a second. I have a clear route that now carries on through here, goes through the box trench, out into this nice archway here, and then over under the embankment. Under the embankment. This beautiful replanned road now sweeps around in a much nicer curve. And also then we do have the two roads diverge off like that, leaving a lovely bit of space in the centre. Now, this space in the centre is going to feature a statue. Should we show you what statue? Let's show you which statue. Well, none other than this one right here. I think it will look perfect in that spot. It's about the right size. Now, obviously, we can't do a gold statue on top, so I'll do something a bit different. Probably use some sandstone walls with a bit of birch thrown in there. Mainly what we've done on the spires for the rest of the buildings. But yes, of course, the big old statue of Queen Victoria that sits outside old Buckingham Palace. I think this will look good, and we don't even have to make proper statues. I will give this one a try myself, I believe. I haven't built a proper one like this before. So I'm thinking, yeah, mainly base out of maybe even diorite. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Might not get the same effect. Definitely make it out of sandstone at least. So yeah, old Queen Vic will come over here into that lovely triangle. Right, let's have a look back in game. Ain't she a beaut? So I'm happy to say that this planning episode has been very, very, very productive. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room. There is now a church here, and there's also a church there, and a church there, and another one over there. No, that's not the church, but there is another one over in that corner. So I asked Goblin, hey man, what do you reckon we'll go in this spot here? And he was like, church. And I was like, one of your Wren churches. And he was like, yeah, let me go have a look. So he went away and he came back with St. Stephen's of Walbrook and dumped it here on top of what will become the railway line. And I've got to say, it really does add something to this area already. Looks great, doesn't it? So in my headcanon, this bit of road here was built in about 1860, 1870. Now, this road here has been around for millennia. No one even knows when it was built. It just exists, which is why the railway line was built outside. Townhouses already this side facing the river. It was the original embankment road, and that actually curved up around here and went off there into the Mall, underneath what would be the old War Office. What on earth are these? Underneath what would be the World War Office, into the Mall. But what happened was it was getting too congested, so they decided to build a brand new big road that took that traffic away, made this one way, yada yada yada. It just means that this makes sense because this is old. That's what I'm trying to say. And what is nice as well is this church has only a few windows on the side. Might get away with an alleyway down the back there, but there is an ample amount of space, possibly about 20 blocks or so. Yes, about 20 blocks to be able to put in a couple of townhouses down here. Now, it may even be the case that I can shift this one over a bit more if we have to, because we've got space this side again so that there is at least, 30 seems like a good length for a townhouse. What did Aussie build these ones like? Anyway, these are Aussie's townhouses. They look great, don't they? We've been seeing them a little bit. So that's 21 blocks. I think we can get away with that. Yeah. I might shift this across a couple of blocks, Goblin, if you don't mind. By the time you're seeing this, you wouldn't have noticed. So I think that will work. Train station is all but done, really. Just need some passengers in it now. And the rest of the walls painted inside there. And I've got to say, when you put those trees in there, Goblin, it really completed the scene. Just look at this. Incredible, isn't it? So I reckon this video is definitely getting on a bit. So how do you feel about having the next episode be all about townhouse building, especially around this area here, and maybe even get 10 Downing Street in? That'd be a good episode. And we could possibly even get the ones along the riverbank in. But what's quite nice is this is really becoming a small/large project in itself, just decking out this relatively small part of town. But in my mind, this is a very important part of town because it will be the main monumental imperial section where we have the big sweeping boulevard with trees along it coming down into here. And I now think maybe not such a big statue there. I think this church does that well. Okay, disregard everything I have just said about Queen Victoria's statue. We are not building it here. I think just a small statue in here, maybe of a cannon or something. That, ladies and gentlemen, let's change the time. I think that church has actually been the answer to all of our prayers. So when you sweep on round here, you just catch it in your eye. It glistens. Now let's have a look at this. So imagine you've just come off the bridge. There will be a bridge. Possibly even here next episode. You come off the bridge, you've got this beautiful building on your left hand side, then you sweep on round here, trees lining the whole thing. Just imagine, and then you come around to this corner and you wanna come off the road, but you can't actually go down there. So this road only allows you to come on to the main boulevard, so you go up that way straight on, or you come off this way from the mall and come round. But what you do get is you get this view straight away. There'll be townhouses either side. You see the undeniable beautiful tower, the spire sitting on top of St. Stephen's Walbrook. So what this means now as well is this part of town, this area needed the name, and now it's called St. Stephen's Junction. And the train station's also getting a name change. It was originally St. Christopher's Park Station. St. Christopher's Park is now being pushed back to the other side of that building. So it makes more sense to call it St. Stephen's Station, as I think that has a nice ring to it, a lot of alliteration there, and I think that works well. Well then guys, I'm going to paint the roads. Let's go up there and paint them, and then we'll say our goodbyes once they've been painted, I think. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, you know what? I've already fought against that. I need it left like this just for planning purposes. So I think, guys, it's time to say goodbye now. And thank you all for watching this quite frantic, hectic, and downright disgustingly interesting, I would say, video all about planning for this future part of Whiteburg. Now, join me next time when we go on a townhouse building bonanza and build all sorts of townhouses. Too many to count. Way too many to count. You might be lucky if I did a video on building them afterwards. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited to get that part done. So until next time, guys, remember, get inspired, get building, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.
That has been another program from the Whiteburgian Broadcasting Company. Please stand by for more programming. Do not adjust your set.